بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، الرحمن الرحيم، مالك يوم الدين، القدوس السلام، الرزاق الكريم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده ربي لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة فخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. أما بعد, all praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I praise him, I praise suitable to his supremacy and greatness and loftiness, and I thank him for the countless favors he has bestowed upon us. The greatest of them is the ni'mah and the favor of Islam. Afterwards, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has facilitated for me this trip here to Chicago at Masjid Ar-Rahman on this blessed night. We're here at Masjid Darul-Quran. And I thank those responsible of this masjid for allowing this night to occur. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our brother Faisal for his efforts. I've only heard good about him. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase him. Ikhwani fillah, tonight I wanted to talk about the Quran because of what I heard about this masjid and its efforts with the Quran. Ikhwani fillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول: وإن أحد من المشركين استجارك فأجره حتى يسمع كلام الله ثم أبلغه مأمنه ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يعلمون. إن أحد من المشركين, and one of the mushrikeen at the time of war, they seek your help, they seek your shelter, فأجره, and help them, حتى يسمع كلام الله, so that they hear the speech of Allah, so that they can hear the speech of Allah. ثم أبلغه مأمنه, and put him in a safe place. ذلك بأنهم قوم لا يعلمون. They are people that they don't know. So even the fact that they're disbelievers, Allah said, أحد من المشركين, even though they're disbelievers and mushrik. ولا يعلم, and he doesn't know. Allah wants him to hear his speech. What about you? You're a Muslim. أنت أولى. You have more right and more need to hear the speech of Allah. And we want to understand that clearly, that the Quran is the speech of Allah. But what does that mean, that it's the speech of Allah? It means Allah تكلم به بالصوت والحرف. I mean, Allah spoke with this book. The words that's in the Quran, Allah spoke with it. Na'am. His voice, the actual words. فسمعه جبريل وبلغه إلى محمد كما سمع. Jibreel heard it from Allah and he conveyed it to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam just as he heard. No. Unfortunately, the time that we live in, because of a lack of himam, a lack of ambitions, high goals and high ambitions, the Muslims have been preoccupied from the book of Allah, except those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed his mercy. How many masjids, they don't have classes for Quran? How many shabab, young people, men and women, they have the capability to memorize? Barakallahu feekum. And if you ask them, do you memorize Quran? They will say no. Some of them might say, like, I look like I got time for the book of Allah. I look like I got time to memorize some Quran. I'm busy. Oh, you're busy. No. It's as if the Quran and Halakat Quran is like it's for kids, like the elderly. Man, memorize no Quran. Man, I don't got time for that. I have bills to pay. I have to pay my light bills. I've been worried about that rent to pay. Nah. Whoa, Kitab al-Azim. That's a great book. This book doesn't get with anything except it puts barakah in it. Nah. If you're studying in school and you're working with your cons, rahmah, you're going to find mercy and aid. You're going to find it in your work. You're going to find it in your family. Whatever that it gets connected to, you're going to find barakah. There is no reason, absolutely no reason, that you don't read the book of Allah and memorize the book of Allah. If you think about it right now, why don't you memorize the book of Allah except al-himam, the ambitions? It just it's just decreased. No. فلذلك الله سبحانه وتعالى يقول وذكر فإن الذكرى تنفع المؤمنين. So it remind the benefits of believers. So we have to remind one another to memorize the book of Allah. What is this book? There is nothing you can recite or memorize. A joke that's better than this. This is the actual real speech of Allah. It's absolutely nothing that can come out of your mouth better than this. There's absolutely nothing that you can memorize in your heart better than this. So give it due time, due honor. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق يظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. He is the one that sent his messenger with guidance, meaning knowledge, ودين الحق, in the true religion, with good deeds. And he sent the prophet at a time of ignorance, knowledge, and a time of sin and disobedience, something with good deeds and righteousness and ibadah, acts of worship, to make it triumphant over all these other religions. But where's this huda wadim? Where's this knowledge and this good deeds? It's in the book of Allah. It's in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nas, قد جاءتكم موعظة من ربكم وشفاء لما في الصدور وهدى ورحمة للمؤمنين. Allah described this book with 4 descriptions. How can we leave it? How can you leave it? Find me a book. It's a maw'idha. It's an admonition. It's a cure for that which in your hearts. And it's a guidance and a mercy. Get your magazines. Get all your volumes together. Get what you got. What you gonna find? There's nothing out there. There's nothing there. It's a maw'idha. It's a strong admonition. And it's a cure for that which is in your hearts, from the anxiety and jealousy and hate and envy that you have in your heart, sadness and grief. We have pain in our hearts. Read the book of Allah. And it's a mercy. Hudan wa rahmatun lil mu'min. Hudan is a guidance so you don't go astray. It's a mercy so you don't have to go into the difficulties of going in the haram and trying to figure this out. If this is good, it's clear guidance, mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ جِئْنَاهُمْ بِكِتَابٍ فَصَّلْنَاهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ هُدًى وَرَحْمَةً لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ. لَقَدْ جِئْنَاهُمْ بِكِتَابٍ. We came to them with a book. But the kuffar didn't take it. لَقَدْ جِئْنَاهُمْ بِكِتَابٍ فَصَّلْنَاهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ. We explained it upon knowledge as a mercy, as a guidance and a mercy for believers. It's a mercy for you. How can you leave it? How can you abandon it? Just the Al-Quran, it doesn't request from us 7 hours of the day. No. It doesn't request from us 5 hours of the day. No. 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there. That's it. As much as you can. Everybody according to what they have. فنصيحتنا الليلة, our advice tonight is that we all embark that we make a commitment to the book of Allah. And so we need reminders of that. We have to make a commitment. Nobody memorized the book of Allah accidentally. It doesn't go like that. Uh, they went through hardship, dedicated. They didn't find any boredom in it. They didn't get bored. Like when they went through one surah, like, man, I'm tired. Every time they go into a new surah, it has a new sound, has a new rhythm, has a different meaning. The more they go, the more they're enthused. كم مرة نقرأ سورة البقرة سورة الفاتحة. Anybody get bored of Surah Al-Fatiha? إن فيه بركة. In it is barakah, it's goodness. Everybody wants to read Surah Al-Fatiha and read it. How many times do you read it in one day? Nobody got bored from that? It's not possible. It's not possible. Surah Al-Fatiha. No. فإخواني في الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول واصفا, he says, described in his book, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله يرفع بهذا الكتاب أقواما ويضع به آخرين. حديث عمر في صحيح مسلم. Allah raises up people with this book. He raises them. إن الله يرفع بهذا الكتاب أقواما. And other people, he lowers them because of this book. I mean, those who act according to it, Allah raises their status. And other people, Allah lowers them. Maybe that's what's missing in your life. Maybe that's why you feel lonely. That's why you feel sad. That's why you have that anger. That's why you have that qalaq and that anxiety in your chest. You know, read the book of Allah. The Prophet said Allah raises people up with this book. He lowers other people from this book. Ain't nothing. Where you at with that? It doesn't apply to you. It applies to you. وربنا سبحانه وتعالى يقول وقال الرسول يا ربي إن قوم اتخذوا هذا القرآن مهجورا. That's a complaint. It's a complaint from the Messenger of Allah. Say, oh my Lord, my people have taken this Quran. They've abandoned it. They have abandoned it. They don't embark upon it. He's complaining to Allah. They don't read it. You know, some people, they just read the Quran on Yom Jum'ah, and then they just read Surah Al-Kahf. That's it. That's it. So nobody think that I came here tonight to point the finger of blame. No. We just want to encourage, want to look at and analyze, look at our situation, and we have to do better. We have to do better. For Ikhwani Fillah, we have to raise our ambitions. And everybody should try to memorize the book of Allah in His honor. When Nabiyyuna Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam أخذ هذا القرآن تلقاه, he received this Quran. And this is what we want to look at tonight, how the Prophet received this book. وتعب فيه. He worked hard to get this book. And he worked hard to deliver it to his companions. And they passed it down to us. For it's only suitable that we work hard and we pass it down. Nabiyyuna Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, our Prophet Muhammad, couldn't read or write. He couldn't read and he couldn't write. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول وما كنت تتلو من قبله من كتاب ولا تخطه بيمينك إذا لارتاب المبطلون بل هو آيات بينات في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم. ما كنت تتلو من قبله من كتاب. You, Muhammad, you wasn't reciting in the Injil, in the Torah. You didn't read those books. ولا تخطه بيمينك. You didn't write it down also. إذا لارتاب المبطلون. The mushrikun, they would have doubted about you. They know that you're illiterate. بل هو آيات بينات في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم. It's clear signs from Allah. It's preserved in the hearts of the people in the house. The Quran is preserved in the heart. It's memorized. It's an honor. It's an honor to memorize the book of Allah. The kuffar, they used to claim that the Prophet ﷺ got the book from other than wahy from Allah, other than revelation from Allah. فقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا إفك افتراه وأعانه عليه قوم آخرون وقد جاءوا ظلما وزورا وقالوا أساطير الأولين اكتتبها فهي تملى عليه بكرة وعصيلا. وقال الذين كفروا إن هذا إلا إفك. They said this Quran is a lie. افتراه. The Prophet made it up. وَأَعَانَهُ عَلَيْهِ قَوْمٍ آخَرُونَ. Other people helped him put this Quran together. Meaning Mushrikun is saying the Jews helped him put this Quran together. وَأَعَانَهُ عَلَيْهِ قَوْمٍ آخَرُونَ فَقَدْ جَاءُوا ظُلْمًا وَزُورًا. They oppressed the Prophet and they lied. وَقَالُوا, they also said, أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ. These are fake tales from those that are before. اكتتبها. The Prophet requested that it was written down for him. فهي تملى عليه بكرة وأصيلا. It is written down for him by day and night. It's written down for him. It's a lie. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول وَلَقَدْ نَعْلَمُ أَنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ إِنَّمَا يُعَلِّمُهُ بَشَرٌ لسان الذي يلحدون إليه أعجمي وهذا لسان عربي مبين. نعم. لقد نعلم أنهم يقولون. We know. Allah said, we know that they're saying that a man taught Prophet this. A man taught him. لسان الذي يلحدون إليه. The language that they're trying to say that the Prophet learned, that's a foreign language. It's not Arabic. وهذا لسان عربي مبين. The Prophet is in Arabic. Some other books are not in Arabic. And then being Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, our Prophet Muhammad, he received this book from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول إِنَّا سَنُلْقِي عَلَيْكَ قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا. We're going to send down to you a heavy statement. قَوْلًا ثَقِيلًا. يعني تلقيه ثقل. Receiving is ثقل. وَإِنَّكَ لَتُلَقَّ الْقُرْآنِ. You're going to receive the Quran. وَإِنَّكَ لَتُلَقَّ الْقُرْآنِ. You're going to receive. Well, we know that Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam came with this book to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We have to mention this. And we have to look at these ayat. This is all mentioned in the book of Allah. وَإِنَّهُ لَتَنْزِيلُ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ نَزَلَ بِهِ الرُّوحُ الْأَمِينَ. Verily, this is the sending down of the Lord of the world. نَزَلَ بِهِ الرُّوحُ الْأَمِينَ. The one who came with it is Jibreel. Allah calls him Ar-Ruh Al-Amin. More than one ayat and one verse, Allah calls Jibreel Amin. That is trustworthy. He conveyed it exactly the way that he heard it from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. نزل به الروح الأمين على قلبك لتكون من المنذرين بلسان عربي مبين. The trustworthy Ruh, meaning Jibreel, came with this book and brought it down on your heart so that you could be from amongst the ones, meaning the Messenger of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول إنه لقول رسول كريم. Is a statement of an honorable Rasul. يعني Jibreel. يعني Jibreel. إنه لقول رسول كريم ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين. ذي قوة. Jibreel is strong. عند ذي العرش, at the throne of Ar-Rahman, at the throne of Allah, مكين. Yes, position. نعم. ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين. مطاع. He's مطاع. He's obeyed there. مطاع ثم. There. ثم means there. هناك. مطاع ثم أمين. He's أمين. Trustworthy. نعم. هذا شيء أراده الله. This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted. نعم. So this Quran was revealed to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, "Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr." We sent it down on Laylatul Qadr. Yani, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke with this book and He put it in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. Allah sent it from the Lawh al-Mahfuz ila sama' al-dunya, to the lowest sky here, in one night. Laylatul Qadr, the whole entire Quran, from the reserved tablets to the lowest sky here, in one night. Now, then, in a matter of 23 years, little bit by little bit, little bit by little bit, He revealed it to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam via by way of Jibreel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala وقال الذين كفروا لولا نزل عليه القرآن جملة واحدة. The disbelievers said, why don't the Quran just come down to the Prophet all at one time? Like, if he's a real prophet, why doesn't it all come down to him at one time? كذلك لنثبت به فؤادك ورتلناه ترتيلا. Allah says like that so we can keep his heart firm. And we sit down, وَتَّلْنَاهُ تَرْتِيلًا, and we sit it down little bit by little, little bit by little. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam find difficulty receiving the Quran at the beginning because he can't read, he couldn't read, and he couldn't write. What does it mean that he can't read? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Musa, قال يا موسى إني اصطفيتك على الناس برسالاتي وبكلامي فخذ ما آتيتك وكن من الشاكرين وكتبنا له في الألواح. O Musa, we have chosen اصطفيتك على الناس. Now we've chosen you out of all of mankind with our message and our speech. فخذ ما آتيتك. Take what I have given you, be from amongst the grateful. وَكَتَبَنَا لَهُ فِي الْأَلْوَاحِ. Allah wrote the Torah on Al-Wah for Musa. But that's not suitable for our Prophet Muhammad. He can't read. He can't read. It can't be written down. Meaning he can't read, he needs somebody to read it to him. Now, tell you. Time when Jibril comes and reads it to him, he can't write it. What does that mean he can't write it? He has to memorize it immediately. And he found difficulty with that. So what did the Prophet do at the beginning? He used to rush. Meaning while Jibril is reading the ayah to him, before Jibril finished, he would start reading it out of fear that he's going to forget it. Verse 2 ayahs, Allah prohibited the Prophet from rushing. From rushing. And in the ajala, don't rush. Allah Ta'ala. فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ الْمَلِكُ الْحَقِّ وَلَا تَعْجَلْ بِالْقُرْآنِ وَلَا تَعْجَلْ بِالْقُرْآنِ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يُقْضَى إِلَيْكَ وَحْيُ وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ, Allah the Most High, مَلِكُ الْحَقِّ. He's al-Malik, al-Haq. Allah said, وَلَا تَعْجَلْ بِالْقُرْآنِ. Don't rush with the Quran. مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يُقْضَى إِلَيْكَ وَحْيُ. Before the revelation is finished coming to you. Meaning before Jibril finishes the verse, before he finishes reading everything, don't rush. وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Ask Allah to increase your knowledge. But don't rush. Doesn't it mean don't rush? Don't start reciting before Jibril finished. And ayat al-Ukhra, the other ayat, where Allah prohibited the Prophet from rushing, the Surah Al-Qiyamah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Don't move your lips. Jibril's still reading, and you stop moving your lips in order to rush. Don't do that. Don't do that. لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Don't move your lips and start reciting it, rushing. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the responsibility of two things. Meaning, when the Prophet was missing two things, he can't read and he can't write, Allah took the responsibility of two things. لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به. Don't start moving your lips to rush and be hasty with the Quran. إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه. That's on us. That's on us. جمعه. We're going to gather it in your chest. It's going to be memorized. وقرآنه أي تلقينا. That's upon us to bring somebody to read it to you. We're going to take care of that. Don't rush. When he's missing two things, he can't read and he can't write. Allah took the responsibility. Inna alayna, birdie, it is upon us. Jam'ahu, gathering it in your chest. It's on us. Jam'ahu wa Qur'ana, ay iqra'a. We're going to bring somebody to read it to you. No. But this is how the Prophet ﷺ started to receive the Quran. فإخواني في الله, Nabiyana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says in the hadith that we all know, وهو حديث عثمان بن عفان رضي الله عنه وهو في البخاري, قال صلى الله عليه وسلم خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best of you all are those that that study the Quran and teach it. They study the Quran and they teach it. Like in the time that we live in, we have been afflicted with a lack of ambitions, low ambitions. And just because of our low ambitions that we have, when we hear this hadith, the best of you are those that study Quran and teach it, our mind just goes to recitation. You know, reciting Quran. Why wouldn't it mean tafsir, explaining the Quran? Why wouldn't it be that? Which one is greater? Learning the meaning of the Quran and teaching the meaning of the Quran, or learning how to recite the Quran and teaching how to recite? Which one is greater? So we have to raise ourselves up. Those who don't memorize Quran, start memorizing Quran. Those who memorize Quran, you have to start learning the meaning of the Quran, studying the Arabic book, and absolutely necessary. Because the Quran is a book of understanding. It's not just based on recitation. We are so afflicted in this time with low ambitions. We are so afflicted that somebody might get on YouTube and start reciting Quran. It's all mixed up. It's recitation. It's like, get on YouTube and recite that like that. Should be embarrassed. Do you memorize the Quran? No, I just man got a couple of eyes together. I just get on YouTube and start reading. That's the time that we live. And he wants to be seen. He wants to be seen doing that. That's the time that we live in. We're in the time of thumbs ups and likes. That'll make your day. You get like a couple of likes, man, you're the man. Thumbs up. We live in a time of thumbs up. You don't have to do any work. Just anybody can give you a thumbs up, and that's good. You're straight. And that's because of the lack of ambition that we have, true ambition. So everybody has what they call level up. You're on level 2, go to level 3. You think you're on level 6, go to 7. You think you're level 10, go to 11. Everybody has a level up. نعم لا تزكوا أنفسكم هو أعلم بمن اتقى. Don't sanctify yourself. Allah knows best who has taqwa. Don't sanctify yourself. Don't think that, I got it. I memorize that. Check out. Leave that. Leave that. Teaching the Quran is something that is honorable to be able to teach the Quran, but you have to study it first. Who's the greatest that taught the Quran? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran. La ilaha illallah. Ar-Rahman. He taught the Quran. When he taught it to the Prophet, By the way, if Jibril and the Prophet taught this whole ummah, like nobody could recite a word of Quran, a letter, except the Prophet got part of that reward. He's the one who came with it. He came with it. Naam. But where's your students? What do you teach? Oh, you and your wife, you and your kids. What do you do? Ain al-himam. Where are ambitions? I just want to be heard. That's it. Ar-Rahman allama. And on another issue, ya ikhwani fillah, we have to mention this. We live in a time that we're so far away from Islam. You're going to be surprised what I'm about to say, but you all know it. We're so far away from the Quran that you have people that studied Islam, and when they want to call a kafir to Islam, they use the Bible. Why would you use the Bible? Like the book of Allah. How could you put the book of Allah on the side and you want to touch somebody's heart when that's their heart? And go to the Bible. That just shows that they don't know the book of Allah. Listen, how could you go to a book that's been distorted, corrupted, changed, altered? Then the main thing that they want to do with this book, they're not trying to touch their heart. All they want to do is show some contradiction in it. So, this one says it was 46 years, and this one says 45 years. That doesn't touch anybody's heart. That doesn't make anybody submit. Listen, you have Kafirs, they don't believe in the Quran, and not in the Injil, and not in the Torah. They chucked it out. What you got? How you going to convince them now? What you got? You have disbelievers, they talk about the Bible. And you're going to come here and just want to criticize the Bible. That's not going to, that doesn't touch anybody's heart. Nah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent his prophet to read the Quran to who? To the disbelievers. When they're at the highest of disbelief. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كَذَلِكَ أَرْسَلْنَاكَ فِي أُمَّةٍ قد خلت من قبلها لتتلو عليهم الذي أوحينا إليك وهم يكفرون بالرحمن. يعني في هذه الحالة وهم يكفرون بالرحمن كذلك, like that, أرسلناك في أمة, we sent you to an ummah قد خلت من قبلها a lot of nations have passed before them for what? لتتلو عليهم, to recite to them. لِتَتْلُوَ عَلَيْهِمُ الَّذِي أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ, to recite to them which we revealed to him, what we revealed to you, وَهُمْ يَكْفُرُونَ بِالرَّحْمَنِ, while they disbelieve in Ar-Rahman at that time. That's what he came for. How can you put that down to the Injil? The prophet came to recite this book to kafara. No, it's a sharaf. It's an honor to read the book of Allah. And decide that this is what touches their heart. والله سبحانه وتعالى يقول إنما أمرت أن أعبد رب هذه البلدة الذي حرمها وله كل شيء وأمرت أن أكون من المسلمين وأن أتلو القرآن. أمر بهذا الشيء. إنما أمرت, I have been commanded. I have been commanded. أمرت أن أعبد رب هذه البلدة. I've been commanded to worship the Lord of this city of Mecca. الذي حرمها, who made this sacred, he made this land sacred. وله كل شيء, he owns everything. وأمرت أن أكون من المسلمين, I have been commanded to be amongst the Muslims. وأن أتلو القرآن, I've also been commanded to recite the Quran. It's been commanded with this. So we all have to study the book of Allah. Ya ikhwani fillah. هناك أناس سمعوا كتاب الله فتأثروا وأنت أولى أن تتأثر. They are kuffar who heard the book of Allah and it touched their hearts. And they disbelieve. They're in disbelief. You have more right. You're the one who's more suitable to be affected. Open up the book and read it. Be affected every day. فبارك الله فيكم. جاء في البخاري من حديث جبير بن مطعم رضي الله عنه قال: سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقرأ في المغرب بالطور. I heard the Prophet reciting at the time of Maghrib Surah Al-Tur. Was Jibir ibn Mut'im his kafir at that time? And the Prophet's in Mecca. The Prophet's in Mecca, and Jibir ibn Mut'im is listening to him. حتى بلغ هذه الآية, until the Prophet reached this verse. أم خلقوا من غير شيء أم هم الخالقون أم خلقوا السماوات والأرض بل لا يوقنون. And first of all, this is Surah Makkiyah. The Surah that are Makkiyah, they're of Hujjah. The proof that Allah alone deserves worship. I was listening to him recite this surah in the Salah. The Prophet was making Salah al Maghrib. Until he reached these verses, it's like more than half the surah is gone. Am khuliqu min ghayri shay'in, were they created from nothing? Where they were created from? Am humul khaliqun, or maybe they themselves, they are the creators. Am khalaqu as-samawati wal ard, did they create the heavens and the earth? Bal la yuqinun, they are not on any type of certainty. You don't have any iman. قال جبير أول ما وقر الإيمان في قلبي كاد قلبي يطير. This is the first time إيمان وقر في قلبي is كافر. وقر بمعنى أنه تمكن وثبت, and it landed in my heart. It got planted in my heart. It's the first time. I was just listening to him. I didn't plan to accept Islam. Now, he accepted Islam years later, but he's explaining in Mecca, this is the first time that Iman felt in my heart. I started thinking about Allah, thinking about the last day. أول ما وقر الإيمان في قلبي. This is the first time Iman got planted in my heart. كاد قلبي يطير. My heart almost bust out of my body out of fear. I was trembling when I heard them ayats. كاد قلبي يطير. You have more right than your heart flies out. You're Muslim. You make hajj, you make umrah, you give sadaqah, pray, you make dua. You have more rights, Kaaba. You have more right. Aqbil, qum, get up, advance. Pick up the book of Allah every single day. Some ahadith, many ahadith. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, يقال لصاحب القرآن اقرأ ورتل كما كنت ترتل في الدنيا. It is said to the Sahib Quran, the companion of the Quran, Sahibu. You see, my man is Sahib, is always with it. So tartah, you gotta be comfortable. وهناك آيات. There's ayats in the book of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains in it how the people were affected by the book of Allah. Christians and Jews. How the first example was what? Mushrik. And we read the first ayat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ. And فِي السِّمَاءِ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ فَائِدَةٌ. If one of the mushrikeen seek your help, give them help so they can hear the book of Allah. Don't read to them the Injil. Don't read to them the Bible. Are you kidding? Yeah, I mean, you should be embarrassed. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed of yourself as a Muslim to pick up that book and read it to a Catholic and look for him guidance. I mean, who did that? Who did that? Prophet, Sahaba, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmed. Who did that? That's ridiculous. Nah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yaqul, man, that this book is a book that we have to understand it. We have to understand it. And when there's people who understood it, they benefit by it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains in this book that we all know that intoxicants, The prohibition of intoxicants came down gradually. Allah says, وَيَسْأَلُونَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. They ask you about gambling and intoxicants and gambling. Say, in it is benefit and in it is sin, but the sin is greater. After that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited the Muslims from reading Quran during the times of Salah. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون. Don't come close to the Salah when you're intoxicant until, when the intoxicants go away from you, until you know what you're saying. You're supposed to know what you're saying. That's what the book of Allah is. A book. You understand. You know what you're saying. It's a shut up. No. It's a shut up. It's an honor to study Arabic. For the purpose of what? Understanding the book of Allah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. If the Quran is recited, but this is specifically for the Salah, during the time of the Salah, فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ, listen closely to it. وَأَنصِتُوا, and be quiet. لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ, so that the mercy of Allah would bestow you. What is the mercy of Allah? That's going to before you. The people understand. It's the dabba, it's the contemplation. You just contemplating about this ayat. That is the barakah. That is the shifa. That is the goodness. That's the healing of it. Now, just you contemplating these verses. Listen to it. Contemplate it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yaqul, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Verily the believers of one, when Allah's name is mentioned, their hearts shake, and when the Quran is recited, it increases them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his book, he mentions people kuffar that were affected by the book of Allah. ربنا سبحانه وتعالى يقول وَلَقَدْ وَصَّلْنَا لَهُمُ الْقَوْلَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. وَصَّلْنَا, and we sent it down little bit by little bit, little bit by little bit. لَقَدْ وَصَّلْنَا لَهُمُ الْقَوْلَ. The qawl is the book of Allah. We sent it little bit by little bit. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ, so that they may contemplate. Don't you know in the book of Allah, Allah has statements like, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, don't you have common sense? أَفَلَا تَدَبُّرُونَ, don't you think? Like it stretches their intellect. فَأَنَّا تُؤْفَكُونَ, how are you fooled? فَأَنَّا تُسْحَرُونَ, how are you duped? How are you fooled? These questions might make them think. يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. And this is a heavy statement. Oh mankind, contemplate the favors of Allah upon you. And the biggest and worst of disbelievers, he cannot deny the ni'mah of Allah. Remember the favors of Allah, the one that gave you eyesight. You think it was a kafir, I don't care if it's a killer, whatever he does, you're like, I don't care about no eyesight. Eyesight ain't no ni'mah. I don't care about no liver. I don't care about no kidneys. Nobody's going to say digestive system, respiratory system. That ain't nothing. I ain't sweating that. Nobody's going to. My hearing, I don't care about no hearing. I'm a tough guy. No. اذكروا نعمة الله عليكم. It's such a humbling statement. Nobody can deny the ni'mah of Allah. Nobody, how big he is. اذكروا, Allah didn't say يا أيها الذين آمنوا, but يا أيها الناس, O mankind. اذكروا نعمة الله عليكم. Then Allah puts it in the question. Allah puts it in the question just for you to contemplate. هل من خالق غير الله يرزقكم من السماء والأرض. Ya ikhwan, that touches somebody's heart. Is there any creator other than Allah providing for you? There's somebody else. Is there somebody else? What could he say? It's humbling. He's just going to leave contemplating. It's too humbling, it's too strong. It's too strong. You can't deny it. No. So it's really sad to see a Muslim used to in jail. What you gonna do with this in jail? What you gonna do with it? What you gonna do with it? What you gonna do with it? They should be ashamed of themselves. That just shows their distance from the Quran. You don't know the book of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَقَدْ وَصَّلْنَا لَهُمُ الْقَوْلَ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. We sent down to them the qawl little bit by little bit so they may contemplate. Who is he talking about? الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ. Those we gave them the book before the Quran. Who's he talking about? The Jews and the Christians. الَّذِينَ آتَيْنَاهُمُ الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ. Though that we gave them the book before the Quran. Hum bihi yu'minun. They believe in the Quran. إِذَا يُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ. If the Quran is recited to them, قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِهِ إِنَّهُ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّنَا. It's Christian. What's your Prophet in the law? You Muslim. إِذَا يُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ. If recited to them, قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِهِ. They said, we believe in that. إِنَّهُ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّنَا. That's the truth from Allah. إِنَّا كُنَّا مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مُسْلِمِينَ. They believe when they hear it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, وَقُرْآنًا فَرَقْنَاهُ لِتَقْرَأَهُ عَلَى النَّاسِ عَلَى مُكْثٍ وَنَزَّلْنَاهُ تَنزِيلًا. وَقُرْآنًا فَرَقْنَاهُ. The Quran, we explained it لِتَقْرَأَهُ عَلَى النَّاسِ, so you, Muhammad, can read it to the people. وقرآنا فرقناه لتقرأه على الناس على مكث, little bit by little bit, so you can read to the people على مكث قليل قليل, little bit by little bit. ونزلناه تنزيلا, and we sent it down little bit by little bit. قل آمنوا به أو لا تؤمنوا. Say you believe in it or say you don't believe in it. قل آمنوا به أو لا تؤمنوا. يا إخوان, we want to start right here. Yeah, Ikhwan, when you read the book of Allah, I want you every time from today, when you see this word, qul, know that he's telling his prophet, say this to them. Qul, yani Muhammad, say these words to them. He's teaching his prophet how to speak to the disbelievers, how to speak to them, how to argue with them, how to convince them. Say to them, qul, aminu bihi aw la tu'minu. Believe in it or don't, or disbelieve in it. Qul, every ayah from today that you see qul, this is Allah telling his prophet, say this to them. قُلْ لِمَنِ الْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ فِيهَا إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Say that to them. قُلْ لِمَنِ الْأَرْضُ. Who does the world belong to? لِمَنِ الْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ فِيهَا. Who does the world belong to and everything that's in it? إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. If you all know, سَيَقُولُونَ لِلَّهِ. Allah tells his prophet what they're going to say. سَيَقُولُونَ لِلَّهِ. They're going to say it belongs to Allah. قُلْ, say to them, reply to them, أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Do you have any common sense? How could you worship other than Allah? قُلْ, say to them, say this to them. قُلْ مَنْ رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ السَّبْعِ وَرَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ سَيَقُولُونَ لِلَّهِ قُلْ أَفَلَا تَتَّقُونَ. How could you go to the Injil? Allah has made everything for us. How to speak to them? Tell us their answer. Say, to who belongs to seven heavens and the great arsh? Allah says, سَيَقُولُونَ لِلَّهِ. They're going to say it belongs to Allah. Say to them, قُلْ أَفَلَا تَتَّقُونَ. Don't you fear Allah? Don't you fear Allah? وَلَئِنْ سَأَلْتَهُمْ. If you ask them, وَلَئِنْ سَأَلْتَهُمْ. If you ask them, O Muhammad, if you ask them, مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ لَيَقُولُنَّ اللَّهُ. If you ask them who created the heavens and the earth, they're going to say Allah. Meaning, the way that we call the disbelievers to Islam by asking them, who created you? Who feeds you? Who keeps your heart beating when you sleep? Huh? We know how to speak to them. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ آمِنُوا بِهِ أَوْ لَا تُؤْمِنُوا. Say to them, believe in it or don't believe in it. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ. Those who had knowledge before the Quran came, meaning the ulama from the Jews and the Christians. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِ إِذَا يُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ. If it was recited to them, يَخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ سُجَّدًا. They would fall on their face prostrating. Kafara. It is believers. It's believers. Say, believe in it or don't believe it. Those that had knowledge, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ. They had knowledge مِنْ قَبْلِهِ, before the Quran. إِذَا يُتْلَى عَلَيْهِمْ. If recited to them. يَخِرُّونَ لِلْأَذْقَانِ سُجَّدًا. They fall on their faces prostrated. وَيَقُولُونَ سُبْحَانَ رَبِّنَا إِنْ كَانَ وَعْدُ رَبِّنَا لَمَفْعُولًا. They say, Subhanallah, the promise of Allah is true. He said he was going to come with a prophet. He said he was going to come with another book. They know, the people of knowledge. يقولون سبحان ربنا إن كان وعد ربنا لمفعولا. The promise of Allah is true. ويخرون للأذقان يبكون. They fall on their faces crying. ويزيدهم خشوعا. Increases them in humility. And to Allah, you have more right. You Muslim, you have more right to fall on your face and cry. You have more right. You're Muslim. You make Hajj, you make Umrah, you make Salah, you make the Rawatib, the Sunan, you fast Ramadan, you make Tawbah, you give charity. But we live in a time like, I look like I got time and none of Quran. That's the time that we live in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول لتجدن أشد الناس عداوة للذين آمنوا اليهود والذين أشركوا. You're going to find those that have the worst enmity to the believers and the worst hatred of the Jews, الذين أشركوا, and the mushrikun. Mushrikun be like Hindus, Buddhists. وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. And you're going to find those that have the closest to us in type of love and respect, Christians. وَلَتَجِدَنَّ أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. You're going to find those that have the closest to you in respect and love, الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. Those that say they're the Christian. ذلك بأن منهم قسيسين ورهبانا. Because from amongst them are people of knowledge and they are worshippers. وأنهم لا يستكبرون. And they're not arrogant. وإذا سمعوا ما أنزل إلى الرسول ترى أعينهم تفيض من الدمع مما عرفوا من الحق. وهذه الآية نزلت في النجاشي. This ayah here is concerning Najashi. He was the king of Ethiopia. He was Christian. The Sahabas made the first hijrah to Habasha. When they made this hijrah to Habasha, some of the mushrikun from Mecca went there and complained to who? To Najashi. It said, some youth left from us, we know them best, send them back to us. So Najashi was like, no, they came to seek my help. Why should I send you back? And it's a long story, the hadith Salama, who are under Imam Ahmed. So they said, no, I can't do that because they came to seek my help. I can't send them back. So the mushrikun that came, they came with skins, like they came with tan skins as gifts, and they handed it out. They said, tomorrow, we're going to tell them what you say about Isa ibn Maryam. We're going to tell Najashi what you say about Isa, that you don't think that he's Allah, or the son of Allah. So they asked, the leader of them was Ja'far ibn Abi Talib. The one that was in charge was the brother of Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ja'far. They said, what are you going to tell them? What you going to say? So I'm just going to say what the Prophet taught us. So they met up the next day, and Najashi asked him, "Do you have anything from your book that the Prophet taught you?" So Ja'far ibn Abi Talib recited a surah to Najashi. What surah you think he read to Najashi? What surah of all the surahs did what he read? Who knows? No, what surah? Surah to Maryam. Do you know who Maryam is with the Christians? They honor Maryam. They love her. We have a chapter. It's called Surah Maryam. Out of all the Quran, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib said, "I'm going to recite Surah Maryam." And when he recited the Surah, Najashi cried so much. And all his bishops cried. And Allah sent down this verse here. وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ. And then what they heard, what was sent to the prophet. Because Najashi said, "Do you have something that was sent to your prophet? You memorize something?" وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ. And when they hear what was sent to the prophet, تَرَى أَعْيُنُهُمْ تَفِيضُ مِنَ الدَّمْعِ. You see their eyes fill up with tears. مِمَّا سَمِعُوا مِمَّا عَرَفُوا مِنَ الْحَقِّ. They know that's true. Now, وَالْآيَاتُ مِثْلُ هَذَا كَثِيرٌ. The likes of these eyes are plenty. إِخْوَانِ فِي اللَّهِ. Those are from mankind. But Allah spoke about jinn that heard the book of Allah. Jinn. You're a human being. You have more right. Akbar, get up. Get which mushaf you want. You want the little pocket one? You want the big book? Get whatever you want. Get it. You want the colored one? The one with the turkey? Get whatever you want. There is no excuse. No more excuses after today. Whatever you have, Allah's going to put barakah in it. I'm going to say this again. The Quran is not requesting from you 5 hours out of your day. It's not requesting that. Whatever you put in, Allah's not going to wait. This is what you get out. I advise somebody to put like 20 minutes to a half hour as a start. 20 minutes is good. 20 minutes. Yeah. But it needs twice a day. Once a day is not enough. Once in the morning and once later on in the afternoon. Sweet. Try to memorize. Try to review. Like when you're driving to work and you're walking to work, don't just be daydreaming about. Read your Quran. Read them songs over and over and over. And memorize it until you think Allah is pleased with it. Memorize it that good that you think like, I think Allah is pleased with this. Like do it for Allah. Do it for Allah, not for YouTube, not for anybody else. Nobody. Do it for Allah. You're going to find barakah. You're going to find goodness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنَ فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوهُ قَالُوا أَنْصِتُوا فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ وَلَّوْا إِلَى قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ قَالُوا يَا قَوْمَنَا إِنَّا سمعنا كتابا يعني كتاب العظيم. And we sent to you, the Prophet was leading Salatul Fajr. والجن is a hadith. Al-jinn muni'u min as-sama. When the Quran came down, the jinn came, they used to steal information from the sky. Steal. But when the Quran came down, muni'u, they couldn't do it anymore. So they said something happened. Shaitan sent them all out. Something happened. Go through the land and see what happened. While they were going through the land, they came across the Prophet leading Salatul Fajr. And Allah says, وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ. We sent you a group of the jinn. يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Listen to the Quran. فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوهُ. When they got to it, قَالُوا أَنْصِتُوا. They said, be quiet. Listen. فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ. When the Prophet was finished, وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ. They went back to the people, warning them. قالوا يا قومنا إنا سمعنا كتابا أنزل من بعد موسى مصدقا لما بين يديه يهدي إلى الحق وإلى طريق مستقيم. يا قومنا أجيبوا داعي الله، يعني رسول الله، أجيبوا داعي الله. صاروا منذرين، صاروا منذرين. They went back to their people, warning them, say, يا قومنا إنا سمعنا كتاب. we heard a book. أنزل من بعد موسى, came down after Musa. مصدقا لما بين يديه. It's confirming the books that came before it. يدعو إلى الحق, calls to truth, والطريق المستقيم, to the straight path. يا قومنا, ليس our people, أجيبوا داعي الله. Answer the da'i of Allah, meaning Muhammad sallallahu. They call him da'i Allah. They call the prophet da'i Allah, the caller to Allah. Ajibu, answer. Ajibu, these are jinn calling to the Messenger of Allah. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What did they do? They was flying around, minding their business, and they just heard the prophet reading Quran. And they were affected. You have more right to be affected. You have more right. Ya Ikhwan, you're going to be reading the Quran, you're going to be memorizing the Quran, you're going to be memorizing. Man, one of these pages is going to touch you. Like, you're going to find a page like when you read this page, you can't go on. You just have to stop. I just love this song so much. I just love it so much. That's how it is. وفي سورة الجن الله سبحانه وتعالى يقول قل أوحي إلي أنه استمع نفر من الجن فقالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا يهدي إلى الرشد فآمنا به. خلاص. نعم. قل أوحي إلي, it's been revealed to me, أنه استمع نفر من الجن, a group of jinn listened to the Quran. وقالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا. We heard a strange recitation. يهدي إلى الرشد. The recitation, it guides you to that which is all right. فآمنا به ولن نشرك بربنا أحدا. We believe in it. We will never worship anything other than Allah after the day. فنحن يا إخوان بالله, we have more right to be affected. So this Quran, it was going to touch your heart when you read. Barakallahu feekum. I want to encourage you all. First of all, I know I'm not Darul-Quran. I know you're memorized Quran, you know. And I imagine that you all, Barakallahu feekum, may Allah increase you all, will take this and receive this better than anybody else. But everybody has to level up. They have to level up. If you're on level 3, go to level 4. And I strongly, strongly encourage learning Arabic. Learn Arabic. Understand the Book of Allah. As a people, we have to understand Arabic. أسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يعيننا جميعا على طاعته. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us all in His obedience. And that He make this Quran something that's always right in front of us. Make us love the Quran. The Quran, I can say it over and over again, it doesn't request from you hours of the day. But whatever you can give. But it needs muwazaba. You have to be continuous about it. Don't worry about when you're going to finish. It's like you're in ni'mah. Listen, let me tell you something. When you finish memorizing Quran, this is when you're going to start having to keep it now. We got a lot of work to do. Imagine you had like a quarter of the Quran, you had like 7 juz of the Quran, you have to memorize, you have to review that 7. Now you have 15 juz now. You gotta review that 15. Okay? Imagine now you got 25 juz. You gotta review that. Imagine you get 30 juz, you think you finished? You just started. You just started. Nah, you just started. So you all know that if somebody finished the Quran has 30 juices, 30 parts. If they did one part a day, and he's at Baqarah, when is he going to get down to Nas and get back to Baqarah? When? 30 days, in a month. But he's going to start forgetting. One juice is not going to be enough to keep that memorization sharp. Nah. So what if he did 2 juices a day? You got to make him time. I got to make time. He's going to do it in like 2 weeks. It's going to be back at Baqarah. It's going to be like, what if he did 3 juices a day? Like 10 days. God is fresh. It's fresh. He could like read it anywhere. Some people do 5 juices a day. 5 juices a day. Like every week. They're going right back every week. Yeah. It's fresh. They see it. It's right in front of them. Yeah. And that's what the Quran is like. You have to repeat it a lot. You have to repeat it a lot. You have to repeat it a lot. So before we end, I want to advise you all with a method of memorizing. The first thing when you memorize, don't bite off more than you can chew. Don't take a big bite and you can't swallow that much. Take a little bird bite, a little bite like that. See if you can memorize it. So don't start reading that whole page. Read like 3 lines. Read a quarter page. No, there's no shame. Don't do a halfway, do a quarter page. Do it every day. Then, what is it that's going to strengthen your memory? Some people, they want to get hijama. That's good, you get hijama. Some people, they eat ginger. They get ginger beer. They drink ginger tea. That's good. That's all right. But there's nothing that's going to help your memory more than memory. The more you memorize, the more you're going to get strong. Example of this, if somebody, for example, he joins the army, and every day in the army they have to jog. First day he gets in the army, he's jogging, he's tired. Second day he's jogging, he's tired. Third day, tired. Fourth day, after a week, start getting a little, it's going to get a little easier. He could take vitamin C, he could do extra jogging, he could take some iron. That might help him a little bit. But nothing's going to help his jogging except jogging. Just imagine this. And he jogged 10 days straight. And he started to get a little stronger. Then he took 5 days off. You think it's going to harm him? Yeah. He did 10 days straight. He started to get used to it. In 5 days, he stopped. Now he's going to go back. And he has to do it every day. Just a little bit. You have to do it every day. And he should like give himself a reward if he finished, and he take 1 day off. Like it's just like a reward. You reward yourself. You take 1 day off and you're going to review that surah. Okay. Your Quran, I'm here at Darul-Quran. You all have your methods. Your methods are probably stronger than me. Everybody has their methods. Your Quran is on 3 categories. You have what you're memorizing. Okay, say somebody memorized 3 juz of Quran. Min qad sami Allah down to Nas. Memorize 3 juz. Okay. So after qad sami Allah, he's going to start memorizing the Surah Hadith. Okay. His Quran is on 3 categories. He has what he's memorizing, how he's memorizing Surah Hadith. That's one section. He's memorizing that. He has review. So he's doing qad sami Allah, he's going down, qad sami Allah is going down to Nas slowly. Every day he just reviews of that. That's the second part. The third part, that every time he memorizes a page in Hadith, he has to review Hadith. He can't get to the end of Hadith and he forgot the beginning of it. His Quran is on 3 parts. So you need time here, a little bit time there, a little bit time there, a little bit time there. You have to review the old. You have 3 juz. You have to slowly go down till you get down to Nas. Okay. Now you're doing Surah Hadith. Surah Hadith has 4 pages. Okay, maybe every day you do half a page.
So when you do the half a page, the second day you did two half. You have a page, you have to review it one time that day. Then the third day you have three half. You have one time you have to read it from memory. And then you have to memorize. You need time to memorize that new page. You need time to review the surah from the beginning, but you have to have time to review a little bit from Qasami Allah. Yeah. A little bit there, a little bit there. A lot is not the point. It's a little bit. Okay. So now by the time you get all the way down to Nas, you finish Hadith. So now Hadith is in that section now. Now you have from Hadith to Nas. Now you're on a new surah. And this is how you're going to keep on going. Briefly, now everybody has their way to memorize. I just want to mention a way to memorize. And there's different ways to memorize. I'm not saying this is the best way. It's a way. A way. When you memorize, don't beat yourself up. Be your best friend. Kun sahibak, like be your friend. Right? You don't want to take too much. So one way to memorize is that take the amount that you're going to memorize. I do 3 lines. I do 5 lines, whatever it is. If it's 4 ayats, read these ayats, but read each ayat by itself. Start with 5 times. So you're going to say, you're going to say, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. You're going to read it like you're reciting. You're going to say, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. You're not going to go, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. La. You're going to read it. Right? And you're not going to go, Tabbat yada. You're not going to read it like that. You just want to get it in your heart. That's it. You want it to be there. The way to get it in your heart is by your eyes and your ears. So you're going to have that book in front of you, and you're going to say, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. You're going to look at it. Don't take your eye off the book. You're trying to get it imprinted here. You're trying to get it here. When you finish reading that 5 times, Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Ma aghna anhu maluhu wa ma kasab. Ma aghna anhu mal. You're looking at it 5 times. 5 times. Yeah. Sayasla naran dhata lahab. 5 times. 5 times. Till you read each one 5 times, you're going to go back to the top. You're going to read each one 4 times. You're going to read this one 4 times. Tabbat yada. You're looking at it and you're listening to it. Each one 4 times. Ma aghna anhu maluhu wa ma kasab. You're not in a rush. Listen, if you're in a rush, just put it on the side. You're not going to be successful. No rush. You have 20 minutes out of your day. You're going to relax. You're going to kick your feet out like that. You are comfortable. I'm sorry, but you're your main man. You're not in a rush. What that means you're in a rush, like yourself is telling you, come on, we have to finish, man. I want to go. No. I'm sorry, you are your main man. You're your friend. You'll agree. You and your soul, you'll agree. Like, listen, I told you we're going to study it. You did tell me that. Okay. All right. You're going to read that one 4 times, 4 times, 4 times, 4 times. You go back. You're going to go back to the beginning. Tabbat yada abi. You had 3 times. Now you're going to be thinking like, I know it. You know it now. But so you're going to go 3 times, 3 times, 3 times, 3 times. 2 times, 2 times, 2 times, 2 times, 2 times. And then when you go to 1 time, you're going to read that surah, whole thing. Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Ma aghna anhu maluhu wa ma kasab. So yes, now you're going to get down. You're going to read that 4 times. Then this is the smile nasiha. Then you're going to close the book and you're going to relax. You're going to go eat breakfast. You're going to go take a nap. Your soul inside is going like, it's enough. You know, I had enough. Don't overdo it. Nah. You're going to relax. You're going to get some sleep. You're going to have breakfast. And you're going to come back later. I used to do that at Isha. And I would go to sleep. And I would come back at Fajr. I'm fresh, ready, strong. And I think I don't memorize it. I would come at Fajr and I would read The whole surah. I don't do one at a time. I read the whole surah. Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. I read the whole surah like 2, 3 times. Then for the first time I closed the book. Every time before that, I had the book in front of me. I'm looking at it. Now, for the first time, I closed the book. And I start to listen. I say that because the way we memorize, like we open up the book, we go tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. Then we close the book. And we go tabbat yada abi falahab. And we forget. Like, no, your soul is like, open up the book so I can see. Why are you closing the book? That's what your soul is saying. Like, why you keep closing the book? Because we in a rush. No, leave it open so your soul can see it. It can get in your heart. Now, so this is the first time you're going to close the book. You're going to say, tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab. No, I can't tell you. Ma agna anhu malahu wa tayyib. Sayasla naran dhatala. Listen. If you make a mistake, open up that book and get the mistake like it's a stain. Get it out. You know, you got like a stain or something. You want to rub it. Get it out. Man, you're gonna open up the book. You're going to sayasla naran that. Get it out. The first time it's over. It's over. Some people have what's called khata ad-dahab. They have the mistake of a lifetime. Every time they read that page, they make a mistake. Every single time. Because they never, if you have a mistake, where's this mistake? Go look at it. Get it out of your mind. Like, attack the mistake. Like it's like a stain. Get it out of your head. Then, if you read it one time, this is what we do. When we read it one time, this is how I memorize it. No. You didn't memorize it. Like you make a mistake 15, 20 times. Then when you read it one time, you go back and say, I'm finished. No, now you started. So when you want from the beginning to the end, whether you're doing a quarter page or third page, if you got to the end and you read it correctly and you memorize it, you're going to put the book on the side. There's no more book. You're going to look at that clock. You have 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And you're just going to sit there. Now you're going to start memorizing. Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab ma agna anhu maluhu wa ma kasab. That's memorizing. No book. Not no 2, 3 times. I don't want to say do it 50 times. I don't want to say do it 70 times. Just do it by the clock. So you won't be like, oh, I did it 49 times. Oh, I did it 63. Don't worry about the number. Just look at the clock. When the hand hits the 4, I'm not getting up till the hand hits the 4. That's it. No book. If you have the book, you keep closing it open. That's not memorizing. No. That's just one method of memorizing. Everybody, but what's important at the first time, that don't cramp your style. Don't do that all that review, and you do all that review when you're just looking at it and try to memorize it at the same time. You might be like, I'm tired now. Don't read too much. The main thing in your Quran, you have to be like, listen, if I go to memorize something, it's memorized. I know how to memorize. I'm not going to go memorize something not memorized. I take it seriously. If I memorize, I guarantee you it's memorized. What do you think I'm doing? It's my time. That's the main thing. It has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be quick. It doesn't have to be just sweet voice. It has to be perfect. There's nothing on your mind else. It has to be perfect. What are you doing? You're memorizing. Listen. When I memorize something, I guarantee you, inshallah, it's there. I'm doing this for Allah. It's this book. Barakallahu feekum. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to aid us and bless us, increase us in knowledge, increase our ambitions, to make us have high goals, and make us committed to His book and teaching it and reading it and acting according to it. He's the one that's capable of answering that dua. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.